Car design is always subjective. What one person thinks is a good-looking car might be an eyesore to the next, and usually when a new car comes out, the looks are a big topic of debate. We are in a time of some polarizing designs right now. Sports cars like the Toyota Supra and Nissan Z launched with some, let's say, mixed reception. But no car has caused more confusion, more outrage, and more retching than the new BMW M3. That is, unless you count the M4. The M-badged twins were met with vitriol and hate when they were revealed in 2020 with a pair of big hood-to-lip grills. Big old pig nose. Piggy McPiggersons, I call them. I've tried to wait as long as possible to talk about these two cars to see if they would grow on me. But I gotta say, they still look like the evil pigs from Angry Birds, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. So why is it that the new M3 and M4 grille design doesn't work for so many people? What is it about the simple change of a grille that causes such a visceral reaction? Did BMW do this for legitimate performance reasons, or is it just style? Are BMW grilles just gonna get bigger and bigger until the whole front of the car looks like a train? Well, today we're gonna break down the new look and find out what's cooking on these grilles. Thank you to Off the Record for sponsoring today's video. We're having a 3-day weekend, and you know what that means, right? Road trip! So pick out your favorite road trip soda, grab some of the gas station beef jerky with a cheese stick next to it, and don't forget the most important thing, downloading the Off the Record app. Because who wants to stress about a traffic ticket during a long weekend, right? Off the Record will connect you to a trusted, proven attorney to help fight that ticket away. With over 70,000 successfully contested tickets and a money-back guarantee, Off the Record is here to help. Register now and use code DONUT to save 10% off your first ticket at offtherecord.com/donut. The first question we've got to ask is, why did BMW make this new grille in the first place? The M3 and M4 are some of the only vehicles in BMW's new lineup that have this extra long grille. If they all had the same grille, I'd say the reasoning would be one of style, BMW wanting to differentiate its current lineup from previous generations. But since this grille in particular is only on the performance models, my guess is that it's got something to do with performance. And if you look behind the front bumper of the M3 and M4, that's exactly the case. In the 8-speed automatic version of these cars, there are 7 radiators up front. One for the AC, one for the engine oil, one for the transmission, and 4 for the coolant. That is a lot of cooling. All that cooling means that you need big, wide openings for the air to flow into, and the cooling doesn't stop there. The M3 and M4 also have brake ducts to cool the front brakes. These are a way to cool the front brakes using airflow, but it means you need even more holes in your bumper for air to come through. All of this is designed so the car has all the comforts needed in a luxury road car while still being able to abuse tires at the track. And that explains why the car needs lots of vents and grills up front. What it doesn't explain is why they had to shape them so weirdly and put so much of that grill in the center of the car. For that, we have to look at aerodynamics. You wouldn't think it just by looking at them, but BMWs actually have a decent amount of aerodynamic forethought in their design. BMWs often utilize an air curtain along the edge of the bodywork. In simple terms, this is a way to motivate air to stay smooth as it goes around the body. One of the least aerodynamic elements on a car, however, is a radiator. Radiators are designed to have air pass through them, but if the air is doing that, it can't pass around the car smoothly. So if all the air hitting the edges of your bumper needs to be directed around the car, the only logical place to put all your radiators is right in the center. This way you can have aerodynamic elements on the edges and cooling in the center that doesn't interfere with each other's airflow needs. BMW also moved the main radiator core closer to the front of the car and further from the engine. This means that there's more space for the air to evacuate the radiator, and it can move faster because of that. But that also means that there's less space between the grille and the radiator, so there's less room for the air to change direction once it gets through the grille. With the old grille, the air would have to travel through a small opening and then fan out to get to the edges of the radiator for it to perform optimally. Now with the grille and the radiator closer together, the grille needs to be pretty much edge to edge. So despite how any of us may feel about the actual look of this new grille, it does seem to really be doing its job. The new M4 competition has 60 more horsepower and 70 pounds more torque than the outgoing model, and even though it's heavier, it still has a faster 0 to 60. So now we know that the new grille works, but that somehow doesn't make me feel any better looking at it. BMW changed more than just the aerodynamic and cooling specs of the car. They changed the look and feel of it. It doesn't quite feel like a BMW. And to explain how deeply rooted my feelings about the BMW looks are, we need to talk about design language. Design language is a set of rules and principles that guide an organization's visual identity. It ensures that their designs have a sense of continuity. Every automaker uses some form of design language in their car. It's how you can recognize a car without even having seen it before. It's a great marketing tool, and different OEMs use it in different ways. Lexus, for example, for the last decade, has used the same hourglass-style grille on almost their entire lineup from coupes to SUVs. Mustangs have had the 3-bar tail lights on almost every model for the last 60 years, and we recently did a whole video talking about the design language of Aston Martin. So if you're looking at a car that didn't have any badges, a successful design language would help tell you what kind of car it was, or at least who made it. And for BMW, there's one part of their design language that has always stood out, and that's the kidney grille. The kidney grille is a staple of the BMW design language. It's got its name from looking like kidney beans. Speaking of beans, we got some new merch coming soon. Give her the beans. In 1933, the BMW 303 had a grille made of 2 long vertical ovals designed to optimize cooling and aerodynamics. Sound familiar? It's almost exactly what the new grille is doing, and for the same reasons. But while we may be able to draw parallels to these two designs nearly a century apart, the kidney grille look that we all know today is very different. But throughout each era, even though the kidney grille has changed in size and shape, the BMW essence has always been there. Even with the swoopy coupe lines of the 1950s, a car like the BMW 507 still feels like a BMW. The split kidney grille is not the same as you'd expect, but it still tells you where the car came from and what it's all about. In fact, while we're talking about design language, if you look at the fender vents of the 507, you can see how BMW kept them as a part of their design language decades later in the BMW Z3. But apart from small things like grills and fender garnish, BMW doesn't have many tools in its design language toolbox. For more boutique manufacturers, design language can be a broader thing that encompasses the whole shape of the car itself. Think about how all Lamborghinis have really similar proportions in the front and nearly identical silhouettes. Think about Porsche and the fact that so many of their cars have the same headlights and same rear end and same fenders and same But for BMW, they make a little bit of everything. SUVs, sedans, coupes, roadsters, even EVs. So their design language can't be something as broad as a roofline or proportions. Sure, they have those things that are occasionally consistent, but one thing that ties the whole lineup together across multiple decades is the kidney grille. BMWs like the 2002 and E30 M3 had similar taller kidneys, while their supercar, the M1, had a really tiny version of what became the BMW standard for the next 20 years. It seems like there's almost no wrong way to design the kidney grille as long as you got 2 holes and a BMW badge. The grilles can be big, small, wide, narrow, anything you want. So why does the new M3 and M4 grille not feel the same? I've been staring at this grille for a while now, and I think there's one thing that really makes me feel weird. One cardinal rule about the kidney grille that BMW forgot about. One line they never should have crossed, and I mean that literally. If you look at BMWs from the 90s, 80s, and 70s, even back to the 30s, there have been many different versions of the kidney grille, but they all have one thing in common. They never cross below the crash structure. The kidney grille always ends above the point where the bumper actually sits. Even with the classics that had super long and skinny grilles, the bumper was always lower. In regards to design, this is a line that divides 2 planes of the car's shape. The top half that curves or rakes back towards the hood, and the bottom that either rakes back towards the ground or, in the case of some of the older cars, doesn't exist at all. Regardless of how high or low this line is, it's the part of the car that is the furthest forward. That is by design. The crash structure is there to catch any collision first and help protect the important parts of your engine bay. So no matter what the front of the car looks like, that bumper line is often the furthest thing forward. Now with that in mind, take a look at the M3 and M4 again. The grille extends past this line and continues onto the bottom half of the bumper cover. Now the kidney exists on 2 planes of the car instead of 1, and I think it's this one detail that throws everyone for a loop with these grilles. As far as I can tell, no other BMW that sports the kidney grille has ever had the kidney on 2 planes like this, and it definitely hasn't happened on a car as high profile as the M3. BMW broke a rule of their own design language that they didn't even know existed. There have been plenty of people with much more design experience than me that have tried to fix the design of this grille, and I really recommend that you go check them out. But I don't think that anyone has been able to put into words what's actually incorrect about the new grille design. So with any luck, I'll be teaching automotive design at my local community college coming this winter semester. You can call me Mr. Sykes. Actually, just call me Nolan. We're all adults and we can dispense with the formalities. At the end of the day, it's just styling. And what really matters about a car is how it feels to drive. And BMWs feel pretty damn good. I thought the M235i Grand Coupe was kind of ugly, kind of fat and funky, but then I drove one and it was awesome. I drove a 428i the other day and it was also awesome. I think BMW is probably going to refresh the 3 and 4 Series face, hopefully quickly, and the pig nose will soon be a distant memory. Or it'll take over the entire line. There's really only 2 routes they can go with this. But that's just my theory. What do you think? Is my hypothesis on the new Grille correct, or do you think there's something else wrong with it? Does the car need to look better, or is a fast car enough for you? Let me know down in the comments. I am actually really curious to know what your thoughts on this is. I thought seeing it in person would make me like it more, but that was not the case. I want to know what you think. Like I said earlier, we got a lot of new merch on the way. You don't want to miss it, so go to donutmedia.com, sign up for our mailing list. You'll get our newsletter, you'll be alerted to it, but you'll also get 10% off your merch order, which is awesome. Follow Donut Media on all social media at Donut Media, and follow me at Nolan J. Sykes if you'd like. Be kind, have fun with your car. I'll see you next time.